Hello friends, welcome back to another video. So in the advent of the fact that it is 10 past 11 right now and I need a video to go out at 6 p.m. this evening, I'm going to record a, I don't know, quite kind of candid talking head style video where I basically kind of just review everything that we've done over the past 6 months, give you an update, give you an understanding of kind of where the business is at, where I'm currently at, what we've done, what we're planning on doing, all of that sort of stuff. So I've got some notes on my phone. I'm going to go through them all now. To kick things off generally, I just feel like we've got a really good sense of momentum at the moment. Things really do, for me anyway, start to feel or are starting to feel like they're heading in a super positive direction, which is lovely. And really, I think that that's probably down to the fact that we're starting to see the results of the things that we did do at the end of last year and then also at the start of this year that are starting to kind of bear fruit now that we're heading into the summer, right? It's a perfect analogy just there. But you kind of think of it like, like when you first start going to the gym, and there's probably about 3 months where you're training, things are hard, things are difficult, you don't really know what you're doing, you're trying to, kind of figure different movement patterns out and that sort of stuff. And then after those 3 months, maybe, your diet's improved and your training's improved and you're being consistent and all of that sort of stuff. You do start to see the results of the work that you're putting in, which ultimately kind of motivates you, or for me at least, motivates me even more than it would do typically, because you're starting to see those muscles grow, right? You're starting to see the fact that you're getting fitter and faster and healthier and all of that sort of stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say in this analogy is that there was a period towards kind of, I would say probably like end or start of Q4 last year, and then moving through into kind of, and then kind of following that strategy all the way through to the end of Q1 this year, we're starting to now see the results of those things. And I'm going to talk through kind of everything that we have done over the past probably 9 months, but this is really kind of just focusing on this year, 2026 specifically. We've just been through the busiest month that I have personally had since working in the events industry. We've delivered 8 events in 30 days, which has been incredible, right? But also extremely exhausting professionally. I'm kind of at this place now where we've kind of got through all of that. There's a couple of shoots that we've got to do this week, but nothing too crazy, nothing too kind of hectic. And I think that what it's really shown me is like the systems and the processes and everything that we've built, the team, all of that sort of stuff has really kind of started to come into its own in this busy period. I don't know what we would have done if we were kind of running on the same systems that we were running on kind of middle to late 2025. I think everything would have just broken. And that's really just been a mix of kind of solo jobs for myself. So I've had a couple of solo jobs, a couple of kind of 2 crew jobs, which has been lovely. I actually really enjoy the smaller jobs or the 2 crew jobs, because like my job can really just focus on actually like filming, which I don't get to do that much nowadays. It's more of a case of like interviews and maybe kind of key hero B-roll and stuff like that. But when I do the smaller jobs, I can actually like, do what I love to do and capture footage and capture moments and that sort of stuff. And then we've had a couple of bigger crews, 4+ people crews, which has been great as well, because that's just a test of kind of where we want to go, the jobs that we really want to be tendering for and going after. So yeah, generally it's just been an absolutely fantastic 2026, and I have no complaints kind of coming out of, like I said, the busiest period that I've known kind of since we've been specifically in the events industry. Now let's dive into some kind of more specific topics. So sales, basically in terms of revenue this year, which is signed contract value. So that's how I kind of count revenue, is the contracts and the deals that we've got over the line this year. But that is currently sitting just below the total for last year, which is incredible. And we've currently got, I looked at the numbers this morning, we've currently got 82K in active pipeline deals, which is deals that are, quotes that are currently out or contracts that are currently out but just haven't been signed yet. So once kind of those start to come through, we will have exceeded already the total for last year's revenue, which is lovely. And we also, within that 82K, I think it's important to mention, like, but that's also no re-signs for 2027. So we've got a couple of projects now, or a couple of kind of timelines with clients now that are kind of starting to come up to the point where they would re-sign for 27. And none of those are included in the 82 as well, which will probably bump that up to somewhere around kind of the 150 mark. It will probably double it. So yeah, I mean, there's just like, it's just incredible. And I can't believe that I'm in a position where we kind of get to say this. However, on an even more positive note, in terms of actually cash collected, so I make a differentiator between kind of revenue, which is contract signed, and then actual cash collected, because like I just mentioned, right, for those projects, we won't collect all of that cash until after we've done the projects in 2027, but we might sign the revenue this year. So I kind of like to make a distinction like that, whereas revenue is kind of my understanding of what cash is about to come in, or what kind of where we're currently at cash wise and what we've got to play with from a cash flow perspective. And then cash is basically just keeping track of the in and outs of the business. But anyway, in terms of cash, we have already surpassed and collected more than the total amount of cash that we collected last year. So basically what I'm saying is the fact that the business is on track to double this year, which is just phenomenal. Like I cannot, like, it's just like I said, it's that momentum, right? It's like we're building this positive momentum now, and I'm really starting to see the kind of the stuff that I did is really start to pay off with new clients and that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's just phenomenal. It just really, like, I'm just super, super, super grateful. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I'm definitely in need of kind of a break, which is what this next 2 months is going to be for me. But overall, it's just incredible, and I'm so happy with it. In looking at specific stuff, thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear that fire engine in the background. That is loud. That is so loud. Ruined my flow. Anyway, let's get back into it. So that cash that we collected, that revenue that we've signed, has been a mix of existing clients and new ones. We've got 27% new client rate in terms of the 27% of the revenue that we've contracted has come from new clients and new deals. With 30% of the 27% new clients in terms of total deals signed, but 30% of total revenue has come from new deals and new clients as well, which is great. Really, really love that. We have 100% opportunities, and I would class an opportunity as like when somebody either inquires or books a call in my calendar. But we've got 100% opportunity to quote rate, which means that the people that are getting on the calls, the people that are inquiring in the business, are kind of perfect fits for us, and people that we do want to work with. We've had no one this year who I've either spoken to on a call or has come through in the emails that haven't been a kind of a perfect fit client that we would quote, right? So that's really, really positive. And our conversion rate this year is 46% on quotes. And I would like to see this number reduce. And I know that's I know that's a weird thing to say, right? That you want your conversion rate of sales to go down. But the idea being is this, like, all of my effort over the next 2 months really is going to be focused on increasing the number of opportunities and inquiries that we're getting into the business. And basically, as you do that, the conversion rate will naturally drop. So I think that we can obviously maintain the current kind of sales system that we have, because it's operating at a nearly 50% conversion rate, which is incredible. However, what we want to do is increase the amount of opportunities, which will naturally just decrease that conversion rate. I mean, if it stays the same and we increase the opportunities, then that's like the best case scenario. But in terms of being realistic, and for the most part, what I've seen traditionally over the past kind of 5-6 years of doing this is that when you increase the volume of inquiries, naturally the conversion rate starts to drop, because, like, it's silly to think that your conversion rate would stay the same by increasing the number of inquiries, because naturally by increasing the number of inquiries, you're going to get people who aren't the best fit. You're going to get people who are probably looking for more than what you can currently offer right now. So there's all of that kind of intricacy to do with sales. But in terms of an overall, from a sales perspective, we are on track to double the business with nearly a 50% conversion rate, 100% opportunities, opportunity to quote rate, and currently 82K of active pipeline revenue sat there waiting to be signed, waiting for further information and that sort of stuff. That's not to say that 82K is going to come in, right? But it just means that, so you can kind of think of it, right, when you start to look at these numbers, you can kind of think of it like, okay, 46% of the quotes or the opportunities that we've got through, we've converted into deals. So if there's 82K currently sat in the pipeline, I can roughly estimate that about 40K's worth of projects is about to come through. And that's kind of like, when you start to look at the numbers, that's where you can really start to play around and have confidence in investing in different bits, right? Anyway, let's move on to marketing. So this year, I have personally gone so much harder on inbound content. It dawned on me at the end of last year that, like, it's no good trying to sell video services and not have video in your marketing, right? Like, that just doesn't make sense. Just logically, it just doesn't make sense that we wouldn't do that, because we have a severe competitive advantage to produce video content, to produce kind of marketing material focused around video, and almost prove that concept to our clients by the fact that they're on the call. I made a massive video about this, talking about kind of the website and the changes and that sort of stuff. So if you're interested, go and check that out. It's like a 25-minute video where I talk about everything that we're doing on the website. But that inbound content has basically been one YouTube video, one LinkedIn copy post, so like a written post on LinkedIn, and then a minimum of 2 short form videos per week posted. LinkedIn being our primary kind of driver. And what I also do is I post the YouTube videos on LinkedIn as full videos if they're under like 10 minutes, because LinkedIn's got like a stupid thing where you're not allowed to put longer than a certain amount of time on there. But anyway, basically kind of that's posted across all platforms. So that'd be YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. The only reason why I do YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok is because I have the videos there, and I may as well just use them to cross post, right? It would be silly to not cross post. But LinkedIn is our primary driver for inbound and outbound marketing. And that's basically been the cadence of posting, is like one long form video a week, one written and copy post, which I want to increase now because they do better than anything else on LinkedIn naturally. And then, like I said, a minimum of 2 short form videos I think is totally fine, but it typically tends to be kind of 3 to 4, which is great as well, because we're constantly showing up in front of the people that we're putting into the system. What have we had? So we've had sub 10 inbound inquiries. So over the 6 months that I've been really kind of consistently posting and consistently doing the inbound marketing, we've had sub 10 inbound inquiries. But the difference being is that when those people show up to the call, they are pretty much kind of primed and ready to go and ready to buy. It's really just kind of a budget conversation at that point, because they've been through the content, they've probably been on the website, they've seen the work, right? Like it's this kind of virtuous cycle where they've seen everything that we're currently doing, and the reason why they've reached out is because they want to work with us. I think the difference then about the outbound stuff is that like we want to work with them. So it's an entirely different framing of the sales conversation, but it's really good proof of concept for me to understand that, yes, the inquiries of an inbound system tend to be lower specifically at the start, but ultimately those inquiries are much easier to convert and kind of, you know, more primed, more ready to have a sales conversation and a conversation around kind of, you know, buying and purchasing services. From the website, I mentioned it just earlier, but the website, I've had a complete overhaul, and this is really kind of come from looking and viewing the content and the website and everything that we're doing from an inbound perspective through the lens of our kind of ideal customer, which would be the senior event marketing managers, maybe kind of head of events, maybe event founders and that sort of stuff as well. But I had a conversation with my mentor where we basically looked at the website and kind of concluded that the website is essentially just full of behind the scenes images. Lovely images with great cameras and everything like that, but behind the scenes images of essentially bearded men in black t-shirts with tattoos holding cameras. And that was everything that the website did. And obviously that's what I think looks cool, right? Because that's my look, that's my vibe, right? That's what I connect with. But the actual person who I want to convert through the website, convert from a kind of an interested person into a booked call, they don't care about that. They don't want to see that. That's not what they want to see. So we completely overhauled the copy, the images, the project, everything to do with the site. We put our prices on there. So that was really kind of about qualifying the leads that do book. Like I was having conversations with people where we were just out of budget in terms of what they wanted to do. And ultimately, like, I don't want to say like it's a waste of my time, but it's a waste of everybody's time, right? Like, because if you can just put the prices up there, they can see the minimum that we charge. And then the conversation that we have, like, it's not a shock when we say that, right? They already know that because they've been through everything. But there's a ton that I want to do on the website. There's a lot that I've kind of spoken about on YouTube specifically that I want to implement. But I've just haven't had the time, right? It's one of those where because inbound isn't our primary driver of kind of new inquiries or quotes or calls or new business, that it's not a huge priority for me in kind of the busier months. And like I said, we've just been through one of the busiest periods that I've ever known in the events industry. So moving on, what else we got? Outbound. Okay, so outbound is basically always been our primary driver, right? I've always loved going to people, because I think, look, on an inbound perspective, it's fantastic to have people come to you, but they have to decide if they're the right fit. Whereas when you go to a company, you've already done the research, you already know what's happening. You can already see that company or that event in our case is operating at a level that would justify our services, right? Does that make sense? So I've always preferred the outbound in terms of going directly to the clients. And I think also like it's a quicker kind of cause to effect system, which means that, you know, like I could send a message to you today, and then you could book in a call with me today. Whereas the inbound, I think that you'd have to go through a deeper level or kind of a more involved process of watching the content, of understanding if it's right for you, of kind of connecting with me personally, and then taking that leap and being curious enough to jump on a call. That's a much bigger process than just kind of sending a message, booking a call, and having the call, right? So it's a quicker turnaround in terms of the cause to effect. So I've always personally preferred it, but we've outsourced all of the DM and the email outbound that we were doing to a separate company. So one of my biggest concerns at the end of last year was that the outbound strategies do work, but ultimately I get to a point where like I'm too busy to keep consistent with these outbound efforts. And ultimately, if you're doing an outbound system, consistency and inbound, right? Any marketing, consistency is the name of the game. And it would be a case where like somebody could be interested to jump on a call, but I personally wouldn't have any availability for like the next 2 weeks, right? Or somebody has positively responded to the initial outbound message, but like I haven't followed up in 2 weeks because I've been too busy, right? So the idea was to outsource this to a completely separate company that kind of runs on their own, that I don't have to manage, that has kind of team members and experience and that sort of stuff. And that's been absolutely fantastic. Like I said, you know, June, I've been all over the place. I really have had no you know, hence the fact that I'm recording a YouTube video now that needs to be posted today, but I've had no time to put into marketing. But just having that trickle, having that consistent trickle of new DMs going out and new emails going out and new inquiries coming through has just been lovely, because my, you know, I can see the conversations that are happening. I can see the calls that are coming onto my calendar. And it's just been great. It's just been great to really kind of, have consistency within our marketing, because if you can get consistent marketing and inquiries, then you can have consistent revenue, which is what we've seen. I mean, it's still up and down, right? It always will be. We're in an up and down events industry, in a video industry, which is up and down. But ultimately, it's been a lot more consistent than I have seen it in previous years. And I think that's due to the fact of that our inquiries and everything is just flowing through in a predictable rate, which is lovely and really, really nice. Is there anything else to say on marketing? Let me have a look. Yeah, other than that, really, we've just kind of changed the outbound strategy slightly. So I used to be a lot more hot on like, you're a great fit for us. Let's book a call right now. Let's talk about it. Whereas now what I've instructed the outsourced outbound team to do is basically just leave those conversations open, right? Because the events industry, the sales cycle is so long in the events industry. And ultimately that means that like we might be having a conversation with somebody now, and that might not turn into a sale for like 15 months, right? Because chances are they've already booked their crew for this year. So it's just about like, we don't want to burn any bridges. We don't want to be annoying with the follow-up. So we've reduced the amount of follow-ups that we do. And also the follow-ups that we are doing are value-led follow-ups, right? Which means that like, because we have this inbound system going on over here, when somebody connects with me on LinkedIn, they're immediately plugged into that inbound system. We then message them relatively quickly after they've connected, and then the follow-ups that we do is like, hey, I just released this video, you might find it helpful, or hey, I just wrote this post about you know, about kind of challenges within the events industry, and I'd love you to check it out and hear your thoughts, right? So they're value-led follow-ups, which mean that when we do follow up, we're just not being annoying, right? We're not like constantly just kind of pecking at people like a fucking woodpecker, right? We're you know, we're leaving the conversation open so that in 12 months we will have been connected now with that person for the next 12 months. We will have followed up a couple of times with some content. They probably would have seen some stuff that we're doing online, and it just means that they're a lot more open to having that conversation when it does come around, rather than straight away just burning a bridge and then them just not considering us to be the supplier. Right, so moving on, we're going to look at team. So as I just mentioned, we've completely outsourced the outbound stuff, right? That's kind of fairly simple. We've done throughout this year 2 call outs for expanded freelance support, which is both camera operators and editors, which has been great. Those posts always perform really, really well on LinkedIn. And I've had a lot of really good conversations where I'm now beginning to look not for generalists, but for specialists, right? So I have a really good understanding of what a typical project looks like, and I have the team for that. But there are obviously situations like, for example, live streaming or you know, kind of more content or social led stuff, right? We're doing a lot more of that nowadays. So what I'm personally looking for is contractors and freelancers that ultimately have specialisms in those areas. And I've had some great and fantastic conversations with both editors and camera operators this year, which has been lovely to add to the freelance team and begin to kind of expand the skill sets that we can offer to our clients with the team that we have, right? And I think that's kind of the main thing. We have basically, I started the year with a goal of entirely outsourcing the post-production side of the business. And the way that I did that initially was working online or working remotely with about 4 freelance editors, which was fine when we were kind of in this place where we were doing kind of like 2 to 4 events a month. Like that was completely manageable. But it got to the point kind of around, what would you say, maybe like end of April, early May, where like the cracks were starting to show in terms of working that way remotely specifically, right? Like we have this beautiful office space. We have space. I had a couple of occasions where freelance editors actually came into the office as well. And it was a massive difference in terms of the vibe, the way that we worked, everything to do with kind of producing the work. So that really opened my eyes to potentially hiring a freelance, sorry, not a freelance, an in-house editor, which is what we did, which is incredible. So yeah, we basically kind of wound down the total volume of freelance support that we were looking for on the post-production side of things, and then put that budget into hiring an in-house person, which has just been incredible. Now, I haven't wanted to particularly kind of talk about that process. I think I might have mentioned that we're doing it here and there, and obviously like if you're on LinkedIn you would have seen that as well, but you know, I think it was really important. Like he's just completed his first trial month with us, which has gone great, really good, but we're at the point now where we're going to have kind of more in-depth conversations about what the future looks like, what they want to do, what we want to do, and kind of working that into a plan and a future that can work for both people, right? And I just haven't wanted to kind of involve, it feels weird not even saying his name, right? But not wanting to involve him in that, because like it's important that I take the time to train this person properly, and I kind of give them exactly what they need in order to do their job the best. And I think that kind of talking about them from a content perspective and going into the intricacies of the hiring process and why I chose this person, like it's my choice to do the content, right? It's not his choice. So it's definitely something that I'll talk about a lot more, because I think it would be useful, and I definitely could have used a video that basically talked about like when to hire, why to hire, what questions to ask, all of that sort of stuff. But I think it remains to be seen if this is going to be a long-term thing. And if it is a long-term thing, then I think I'd feel a lot more comfortable about kind of sharing more intricate details about he who shall not be named, right? Sounds like fucking Voldemort. But anyway, yeah, I'll talk about that more in the future is basically what I'm saying. So other than that, editor completed his first month. It's, you know, other than that, really, it's just been super nice to have somebody in the office consistently as well. Like I work a lot, you know, I work a lot by myself. I do a lot on my own. And that's great for kind of cracking on, doing deep work, getting really meaningful stuff done. But ultimately, I think that personally, I've missed a social component over the past 5 years of like, I mean, I get it when I'm at work, like actually on site with people. But ultimately, we're there to do a job. Like it's just been so nice to have somebody in the office where you're cracking jokes and you're talking and you're relating to the same things, and you know, you're working on the same projects, and it's really starting to have like that super team feel right now, which has just been fantastic. And I think it's added to this feeling of momentum, because like I'm not particularly a money driven person, but I know that I'm going to need money and resources to get to where I want to go with like a big team, you know, like a really good sized team where we're doing projects all over the world and we're working on the biggest and hardest challenges for the best brands. Like that's what I want to do, and that's going to require cash to get there, right? And the point being is that like it's just felt like such a team feel, and that's been lovely. And it's just been so nice for me to personally feel like I've been supported by someone that cares, that wants to be here, that's grateful to be here, that sees the vision, that understands where we're going. And I've just really enjoyed it. I've just really enjoyed having somebody here to kind of have that social component to work, which has just been fantastic. Other than that, Yasmin, our operations manager, has basically taken responsibility of the majority of pre-production now. There's a couple of cases where I do need to step in more on the kind of creative and client side of things. But for the most part, in terms of like logistics, crew, organizing, booking, travel, like every tiny little detail that would fuck me off in pre-production, because like I'm a type B creative, like, you know, like I don't want to be in the weeds. I don't want to be in the details. I want to be kind of looking at the clouds and being very top level. So just having Yasmin take full responsibility of pre, and then having our in-house editor and also the freelance editors pretty much take full responsibility of post. I'm still obviously involved in those two processes, but really like what it's allowed me to do is focus a lot more on kind of the, I would say long-term, mid to kind of short to mid-term vision of the company. and see where we're going and see what we're doing and the people that we're working with and how to improve our product, and how to get more people into the product and all of that sort of stuff, which is what I should be doing as the kind of the founder, as the leader of the business, right? I should be focusing on solving the hardest problems and the biggest challenges within the business, and not be in the weeds and not be in the details all the time. So that's just been great. Like, I basically kind of don't really deal with pre or post, and obviously client comms I'm still involved with, of course I am, but like for the most part in terms of the details. And I think like it's all of those open loops in pre-production, like because you're waiting for information, because you're waiting for confirmation, because you're waiting for additional stuff, right? There's all these open loops in pre-production all the time that you're constantly trying to close, and that's just saps kind of mental energy away from the bigger stuff that you actually need to be working on as the business owner, right? So yeah, it's just been great. It's been really good to kind of operationalize and kind of systemize with people those processes. Moving into personally, so this is a big update, right? But personally, I am just in this place, and hopefully you can see that through this video. I'm just in this place where I absolutely adore and love my life at the moment. Like it really is kind of a pinch me moment, like almost every single day. You know, like I wake up, my health's in a great place, and I'll talk about that in a second. But like I wake up, I go to the gym, I come into the office, right? Like I have my own space, like I have my own studio, and now it's got a person in it, right? Like we're traveling all over the world. We're doing these cool projects. We're working with great clients. We're working in an industry that I absolutely love. We're turning around projects quickly, like to fantastic standards. Like personally, like I think really kind of some of the best work that I'm seeing out there at the level that we operate in. You know, so I'm fucking fizzing at the moment, is what I'm saying. Like personally, I'm just in this place where like it's just really, really everything's beginning to tick and fall into place, and I love it, and I love the momentum, and I love what we're building. Obviously, it's hard. Obviously it's tiring. Obviously, like, you know, sometimes I don't feel as pepped up and as fizzed up as I do right now, but generally, like, you know, the overwhelming feeling is one of absolute positivity. Like my emotional home that I'm returning to at the moment is just fantastic, and it's super calm. Well, it's not calm. Calm's completely the wrong word, actually. It's not calm, but it's like it's considered, right? Like it doesn't feel, even though there's chaos going on, I personally am not feeling chaotic. Everything is in its place. Everything's working how it should be. And as long as I continue to show up and do the things that I know I need to do to get the results that I know I want, everything's working out. In terms of my health, I am the lightest, I am the fittest, bar running a marathon last year. And you know, because obviously I was fit to do that, but like, I'm the lightest, I'm the fittest, I'm the strongest that I've ever been. At the end of last year, I really, really started to notice the toll that this industry can take on your health if you don't take care of yourself properly. You know, it's not getting the rest. It's being inconsistent with the gym. It's eating shit foods. It's eating fast foods. Like it's staying up. It's the open loops. It's this and that and the other. And I think that like what I've really tried to do this year is put a heavier focus on me personally, and then as a result, the business has done much better. Because like it would almost be like kicking your best employee in the nuts constantly. Like, do you expect them to perform? And ultimately no, right? So you need to do something about that. You know, I've just kind of set standards for health this year, and that's kind of a consistent amount of gym and training, and steps and walks and that sort of stuff. Like it's the food that I eat when I'm on site. It's the rest that I prioritize now. Like it's all of that sort of stuff. And it's nothing complicated, right? This is the whole point, is like, there's nothing complicated that I've done in terms of my health. It's just being consistent. And then it's funny that when you put consistency in, you get consistency out. And I think it's like, that's taken me quite a while to learn. But now it's in a really good place, and I know what I need to do to help me feel the best, right? I also took the Whoop off. So I used to wear a Whoop since like September last year, I think it was, that I did the subscription, or maybe like end of August. And I'm kind of one of these people that really gets obsessed with details. And for me personally, having a device on my wrist that tells me how ready I am to take on the day, and has all this data and metrics and all of this, like it just wasn't it. And I just took it off, right? Like it's just like, I don't need to know. Like, I know when I feel good. I know when I'm operating at my best. I know when I'm being consistent. Like I don't need a device to help me know those sorts of things. And like, granted, look, I think if you're not one of those people that kind of gets really obsessed with the details, and like I was finding that even though like I might wake up and feel good, if the Whoop didn't say that I felt good, that would be like a placebo effect on my mind, and I would therefore have a worse day as a result of having this thing that told me that I was going to have a worse day, right? Or I should take it a bit lighter today, or like this, my stress levels are medium instead of low, and all of this bollocks, right? That I just don't need to know. Like, for me and my personality and the way that I operate, like, it was just a case like, you just got to take it off, dude. So that's been a really good one just there. And then I also celebrated my 28th birthday in the middle of this super busy month as well. So 18th of June was my birthday. We were on site in Dublin for the first day of Imperium Mastermind when it was my birthday. Turning 28 has been an interesting one for sure, because like I feel like I've kind of like time warped from like 23 to now. I've been running the business for a long time, but I personally don't feel like it's been that long, right? But when you look back, it's been a long time. And obviously like I've changed and developed as a person over that time period, but I think mentally like I'm still there. And then having like 28 for me sounds way too close to 30. And it was like a wow, like shit, like, time is moving fast now. But anyway, celebrated my 28th birthday, and I'm 1 year closer to 30. Now, let's begin to wrap all of this up, because I'm conscious that I've been talking for a while. This has been a pretty long video. I think I'm probably at like 30 minutes now already. But this year for me, like I've said multiple times in this video, has all been about building and then maintaining the momentum that I've been essentially trying to build all year, right? And hopefully this kind of recap shows you that there's a lot of positives. Now, like I haven't really talked about any negatives here. There's obviously been kind of hiccups and things that have come up along the way, and challenges and obstacles and that sort of stuff. That's just life, right? And I don't think it does very good to kind of like dwell on those, other than just how can you improve it for next time. But yeah, I mean, like, it's been amazing, because I just feel like, finding those hiccups and being in a positive mindset myself to be able to actually deal with those challenges and overcome those obstacles, that's where the growth happens, right? And I don't think that you are as primed and ready to take on that kind of growth and those challenges if you're in a more negative place, which I definitely was towards the end of last year. If you go back on the YouTube channel, you can probably see it. I was talking a lot about problems rather than kind of positive things. So that's just been really nice. Now, looking into the future, we currently have, so like I said, it is the 6th of July. We've got, I've got a shoot that I've got to do on Friday. We've got a couple of provisional dates that are booked kind of towards mid to end of July. It's my wife's birthday this month as well. And then August, there's nothing. And that just looks that just looks beautiful to me at the moment, right? I think that, like we've now essentially got kind of like a month and 3/4 to tidy up the mess that we made over kind of the past 30 days where everything's been crazy. Like it's safe to say that like files don't get organized properly and don't get uploaded properly, and the office and the gear room becomes a bit of a mess, and just generally like, there's just stuff and systems and bits in the business that we've got to tidy up, and people that we've got to get back to, and priorities that we've got to kind of set and stuff like that. So it's going to be about tidying up the mess, looking at those hiccups and challenges and obstacles that have come up over kind of the past 2-3 months. And making sure that they're ironed out for September, which is then our busy season. Busy season then kicks up again through the rest of the year. So it's been lovely. I hope that this update has given you kind of a window into my world and what we've done and what we've worked on this year that have really kind of moved the needle for us. And other than that, like I don't really have a lot else to say, to be honest. That is kind of it. The next 2 months or month and a half, month and 3/4 or whatever. I'm really looking forward to. We've got a lot of personal things planned. I'm going camping with my friends. I've got my wife's birthday. We've got kind of like sporting events and stuff that I'm going to, and it's going to be a really nice time for me to kind of be a bit more consistent in terms of kind of the hours that I'm working and the effort that I'm putting in, and when you're looking at kind of a very clear month, it allows you to work on those bigger projects, which for me is going to be like tidying up some of the digital structures that we've got. Looking at some marketing ideas that I have. I really want to develop the professional partnerships side of the business, which would be like venues, event managers, event planners, all of that sort of stuff. But I'll talk about that in kind of a future video probably. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. I'm going to sign off here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did make it to the end, you're an absolute Donny. So thank you for that. And I'm wishing you all the best for the rest of the year for 2026. And hopefully you'll see another one of these videos where we do double the business and we do all the things that I want to do this year. But that remains to be seen. All right. Catch you in the next one. Take care.